Welcome back to Life on the 50. I'm your host, Nick Kleitch, and with me is a gentleman that I've learned is going to have what could be the best year of his life, along with a skill set that he shared with me as well that I think is uncanny come Christmas time, considering it is along the lines of giving gifts. Cole Szynski. Cole, how are we on this fine evening?
Nick, I'm doing good. I am about a third of a bottle of wine in. Um,
Ah, yes.
I am officially on holiday break from work. Very, very lucky. Our organization gives us 2 weeks paid off during the holiday season. So it gives me a chance to go home and see family, spend some time away because, frankly, I need it. Uh, and life's good, man. Like, we're coming to the end of the year. I feel good about this last year. I'm feeling really good about going into next year. But we're here to talk college football, and
Mhm.
my God, is college football in we're in such a unique time because it's bowl season, the playoff, and obviously new structure this year. Some pretty crazy events have happened in the last week. Looking at you, University of Michigan,
Mm.
uh, and yeah, like I'm stoked for this podcast. I am stoked to talk ball with you as always. Uh, and I'm really excited to see kind of what lays before us. Like I think there's some fun things on the horizon as we move to the end of the year.
Oh man, I'm so glad you're doing well, and you're so right. There is, I don't want to say. Sometimes I get dramatic when I come on here and say like, "Oh, this is the most controversial year," or this or that. But the state of college football collectively right now is madness, and I love it so much because we have a fan base in all the fans of college football that I'm going to call us all out here. We're acting pretty entitled because we have arguably one of the greatest playoff settings outside of what teams argue getting in or get out that we could possibly ask for. And you're like, Nick, I know you bring this up all the time, how it used to be back in the day, but I think it's a very important point because instead of having all the controversy of who's making the major bowl games, we now have an ability to watch these teams truly duke it out on the field. And my final comment on that is if you have a problem with not getting in or the structure of things, win the game. It's that simple. Anyways, we have also found a new thing that has happened in college football this year. Not new in the sense of the first time it happening, but an attitude, an entitlement, and just kind of an interesting element to the game itself. And that is this general idea of opting out of our bowl game. So this isn't the first year a team's opted out. This isn't the first year that players are maybe wanting to go to the draft and all that fun stuff. But it's probably because there's more highlights on more teams and more like chaos in social media that this is more of a newer thing or a saucier thing. But my God, Cole, like it's just such an interesting idea that a team would opt out of their bowl game. So I'll turn it over to you because there is a team that you cheer for very loyally that has decided to do this. However, there are other teams that have far less things that have happened to them that are also doing this, and they're getting very called out for that. So I'll turn it over to you.
So I will start by saying college football, as much as we love it, we talk about it, and it is it is my creme de la creme. It is the one thing, like it's what I get up for in the morning for that first weekend in August, all the way
Mm.
until the last weekend that we just came off of. Army Navy conference championships, starting bowl games, like that this is the time of year that we do this shit for that I do this shit for. All that being said, college football is in a really dark place, and I
Mm.
can say it. Like I can say it. Money is running the sport.
Yes.
We The pendulum has swung in the complete opposite direction of where it was. But Nick, like you're absolutely right. Like it's chaos. It's the greatest reality TV show that has ever been created, and that's a fact. That's partly due to us fans and how fanatical and crazy we can be, and we are. It's caused by the money that is now being thrown at players and coaches. It's the expectations and pressure that are being put on 18 and 19 and 20 and 21-year-old kids to win championships in a new place that they've maybe spent a total of 3 months, 6 months at. Um, and are very much probably still getting adjusted to simply everyday life. Not to mention going to class and doing everything that college kids have to do, or get to do there rather. So it's in a dark place. I can say that very truthfully. I still love it the same. Um, there is obviously a middle ground on all of this that eventually we're going to find, and it's going to be perfect. We're going to go back into it. We're going to dip back into a golden age, and everything's going to be hunky dory again, which I love.
Yeah.
So if you're selling stock on college football and that you're done watching it because players are transferring or coaches are leaving or what, like I'm buying. I'm buying stock.
Yeah.
Sell it to me because I'll buy it for whatever you're selling it for. Um, Quickly, I will say, as a bright spot in college football, before I get to exactly what you were saying, Nick, can we just stop and give a golf clap though quickly to Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner? I mean, kudos to that guy. He has done everything the right way.
Oh,
Indiana has done everything the right way. Kurt Signetti has done everything the right way. Maybe with a little bit of attitude or a little bit of cockiness or a little bit of confidence, however you want to think of it. Um, but it's just like it is so cool when you get to see the right guy win it, and I truly believe the right guy won the Heisman this year. I haven't always felt that way, but like it's cool to see a dude that is so passionate about his teammates, it's passionate about his university, and quite frankly has come up the right way. I mean, like he wasn't always at Indiana. Like
right.
he is a product of the transfer portal. In his speech, he even gave a shout out to the University of Cal. So in like amongst all this darkness, like there are still really awesome like glimmers of hope or gems that we should cling to. And this year the Heisman Trophy winner just happens to be one of them, which I think is so great.
May
So
I comment very quickly on that, Cole?
yeah.
So the thing that I thought was most cool about this gentleman winning, in the past, we have had players like Lamar Jackson and, Baker, Kyler Murray, like that are just these unreal talents and personalities in the sport. And they have won it for their sheer just dominate on the field. But it's rare in today's world where so many people are focused in on me that a guy like Fernando was the recipient, and he is completely the opposite. In this chaos, you're so right, Cole. There is still hope on a young man who can invest in a program, who can invest in a team, and have it really be focused on what they are ultimately trying to do, and that is to win the game. Fernando doesn't give a shit about his stats. Fernando
No.
also made a very selfless decision by coming back in the game when he about broke his ribs and got concussed after one of the biggest hits of the year. And so this guy it's just like, man, rarely does it get to be the guy who has such focus on the team, their overall success, and you hear it in every time that he gets in front of a microphone. And I'll give it to him, man. He's a quirky dude. Like he's not going to be the Barack Obama of college speeches, but I think that he is just so funny, and to see him tear up and all this stuff. That's one thing at the very least, Cole, that we got right in college football this year.
Yeah. So getting to then the complete opposite side of this, you're obviously asking me about Iowa State. They opted out of a bowl game this year. Kansas State also opted out of a bowl game. Most notably, though, Notre Dame opted out of a bowl game.
Correct.
So I will address Iowa State first, since that's what you initially asked me about, and then we can dive a little deeper into these two other teams. There's other teams, quite frankly, just to make a quick note, that due to opt-outs by these three teams were offered bowl games and declined the opportunity to be in a bowl game. They weren't originally bowl eligible, but because of so much turnover, because of teams, players obviously opening up their options and their windows to do whatever they please. The decline was obviously was a no brainer for a lot of these schools. Um, Getting to Iowa State. So what happened with Iowa State? And obviously in the last episode we talked about Matt Campbell exiting, but what happened at Iowa State was a seismic shift. It was like the it equates the highest or most powerful earthquake on the Richter scale that you could feel. Like the greatest football coach in program history left to take another job in an era where it is very easy for players to leave, to follow, for coaches to leave and follow, which ultimately leaves that said program caught with his pants down.
Mm.
And that's simply the nature of where we're at with college football. The ability to transfer, the money being given to college coaches now, the desire to win now, to win consistently, especially by big programs who say that they have storied histories and have these high expectations, even given the deeper conferences that they're playing in. When a coach, when a situation like that leaves, and we're even going to see it with a team like Tulane who's in the playoff, they're losing their coach. A team like South Florida who is losing their coach. Like
Mm.
both of those teams are obviously playing in their postseason games. Actually, we're recording on a Tuesday night. The USF game just got over. They lost to Old Dominion like 24-10. I loved watching that game. That was like one of the best bowl games for me to watch. Iowa State not playing in a bowl game has nothing to do with taking their ball and going home, or bitching and complaining to a playoff committee, a bowl committee, any figureheads at the NCAA. It has everything to do with the players ultimately voted not to play. Why did they vote not to play? Because they just lost their leader that has been a constant for over a decade
Mm.
at that university. And when something like that happens, there is a ripple effect. And this is a small ripple in the entire effect of the coaching change that happened. So the Iowa State situation, to me, is so much different than the situation that went on with University of Notre Dame.
Couldn't
We
agree
can get
more.
into that. I know that you asked me about Iowa State, so this is what I'll address, and then I'll give the floor back to you. But listen, Iowa State is in the midst of turning a page.
Right.
We obviously are not a college basketball podcast, but there was a viral clip, at least on Iowa State Twitter, of Jimmy Rogers, the new head coach at Iowa State, being introduced at the Iowa State basketball game, which happened about a week ago. And he said, "Let's beat the fucking Hawkeyes. Let's cheer on Coach Otzelberger. Let's beat the fucking Hawks." He said that to a crowd of college kids, parents, and children, and like whatever. My mom was pissed, but I love that. So we are in the midst of change. We are in the midst of a phoenix rising from the ashes, so to speak. And a bowl game, like, not only would you have not had the participation, you couldn't have safely fielded a team of 22 individuals, plus 22 plus individuals to play in said game. And ultimately, what are you gaining? Yes, there was a penalty. They were fined $500,000 by the Big 12. They're obviously losing out on the opportunity. The athletes are losing out on the opportunity for what a lot of people will say is a once in a lifetime experience, to go down, to be fawned over, to be treated like kings as participants in whatever bowl game is being played in. I actually believe that the bowl game would have been here in Phoenix, Arizona, at Chase Field, the Rate Bowl. So I would have had the opportunity to go to that game. That makes me sad, but ultimately, like, I am for the betterment of the program. And when you have a seismic shift in a program, in a culture, and there is a period of transition, listen, if you're telling me missing out on the Rate Bowl in Phoenix, Arizona at Chase Field in 2025 is going to put Iowa State in a better spot in the 2026 season, more than likely the 2027, 2028 season and on, I'm all for it.
Beautiful. And I appreciate you addressing that directly because I did want to get your thoughts as a fan. Furthermore, I have one question as a point of clarification because I think you did say so the players did actually vote collectively that this was their decision, correct?
So the players voted not to play. This was not a decision made by an athletic department. This
Mm,
wasn't a decision made by Matt Campbell or Jimmy Rogers or any of the coaching staff. It was a vote after the announcement had been made that Matt Campbell would be moving on to Penn State. That the players, the team, the kids who had been playing in the game, the athletes, the competitors, decided, hey, we don't want to play in this game because we have no idea what our future holds. And we'd much prefer to prepare ourselves, our families, our lifestyle for whatever is next, whether that's at Iowa State, whether it's not at Iowa State, whether it's getting ready for the NFL draft as a senior, or whether you're getting ready to go into the workforce as someone who's not moving on from college football. Yes, this was decision made by the players. There's two sides of me when it comes to that sort of thing. Is one, you are like the competitive side of me, the competitor side of me says, "Fuck it, strap it up anyway." The human being in me, having gone through a few moves as far as picking up my life and moving across the country into a new situation, into a new job, into a new place, into a new group of people. I understand that that all takes a lot of time and that takes a lot of thought and it takes a lot of, discussion among, in this case, coaches, family members, friends, teammates, former coaches. And so, does the competitor in me say, no, fuck it, strap it up and go bang some bodies? Yes. But does the level headed adult in me say, you know what? This probably wasn't the best thing for the future of Iowa State football? Yes.
excellent. Thank you. Thank you. This comment from me does not is not directed at Iowa State. It is more so from a grander perspective. The one thing that has changed for me slightly in these particular types of situations is I do feel that going back to my initial comment that now, like when players were not getting the NIL attention that they were, I think it was just more so like we're gonna play the bowl game because it's just like an honorable thing, right? Like we're grateful to play the sport. You know, we can develop some younger guys, get them some further reps. We can give the fans one last hoorah. And so for those folks out there that are getting paid to play now, and substantial funds, I do look at this a little bit more aggressively to say, hey, you're no longer just quote unquote going here for school as they used to claim, which is just fucking comical. But yeah, so there's a part of me that's like, hey guys, like you love this sport, you're doing it because you love it, and now you're getting paid. I feel that you should have an obligation to the fans. Now, of all the teams that are deciding this, Iowa State had clearly the most understandable reason for not yielding, excuse me, fielding the team to go play. And to your exact point, when something like this happens, and with NIL, you have no idea who's even on the team at this point and where their
Mhm.
minds are at. So that I fully understand. Now, let's also address teams that made this decision who were not having a seismic shift.
Well, so let's get one thing straight. So, bowl games as a whole, like bowl games today, December 17th, 2025, as we know it, um, they're obviously still being played. Like there's a game literally currently being played as we speak. I'm not watching it. So if I'm not watching that bowl game, you can't tell me that thousands, let alone millions of people are tuning in to watch, Rutgers play got like or Rutgers play Temple, like whoever the hell that game is. I don't even know.
Sure.
I can look it up quickly for you while I filibuster. Uh, but the model of it's Louisiana and Delaware. Okay, Louisiana, Delaware playing in the '68 Ventures Bowl. Um, Good for them. So bowl games, as we know it, are a dying breed, extinct, a thing of the past, however you want to look at it, because of obviously the college football playoff. So, what the NCAA has done or allowed, however you want to look at it, is a similar model to what makes the men's basketball tournament and women's basketball tournament so great. The tournament, like the bracket structure, what we need to do is take all of these bowl games, these companies who sponsor bowl games, and let's sponsor a second set of playoffs that
Ooh,
financially entice the universities to play games, right? So
interesting.
men's and women's basketball do this with a
Yep.
separate NIT tournament. The National Invitational Tournament, or whatever it's called in basketball. If we're going to do this, if we want to keep seeing postseason football outside of the college football playoff playing for a national championship, let's play for some NIL money. Let's play for a nice check to end your season and give that money,
Mm,
in most cases to a smaller school, a smaller program, a lesser program who could benefit and could catapult them into contention for a college football playoff bid down the line.
that is a take that I had not considered, and I think that's you're onto something there. And especially because um, that would give the opportunity that I just commented on for kids to still give the fans something that they can cheer for. Because
Yeah.
as much as it does suck to not have your team in, what is the next best thing is trying to quote unquote win the losers bracket. And
Mm-hmm.
there's still much moral victory that could be earned there. So, wonderful concept. And then in addition to that, Cole, what I will add that is sexy to that is for those teams that are fighting for that top 15 spot, top 12 spot, we now have extended that offering to nearly the top 25. So then it even brings a more level of credibility to say, okay, you want to end the season, you know, in the top 25 because you have this opportunity to go out and do this. And I think of my own team, let's say, now has the ability to have a first round game against Vanderbilt. And it allows
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt to also potentially play to continue to move on and continue the greatness that they've had. So I'm all for this. I hadn't considered this, but this is a wonderful idea.
It would allow a for each game to still have a presenting sponsor. So we have you have the Bucked Up LA Bowl or the Staff DNA Cure Bowl or the '68 Ventures Bowl. Every single game could still have a presenting sponsor. The FCS, so teams like Montana, Montana State, South Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota, North Dakota State, that level of college football already does a playoff model and bracket structure that's far greater than what the college football playoff 12 team bracket is. And they've been doing it for years. I think for this lesser tournament, for these smaller programs, for these teams that are not in the actual college football playoff, let's break out a bracket structure. Let's let Iowa go up against Old Dominion in the first round when Vanderbilt is sitting on the other side, and let's let them meet up in the championship and potentially earn $1
Mm,
million that could go towards the NCAA, the transfer portal, which could be the next great quarterback at the University of Iowa, or the next great running back at the University of Iowa, right? Like
love it.
that money would be directly tied to somewhere because there are changes coming with NIL and where you can accept money from. I believe the collectives are now a thing of the past, that it has to be business to business funds. So all that being said, there's changes being made. This is simply one solution. There are certainly flaws within this solution that you can nitpick, but it would make it fun at the very least, and it would give an opportunity for teams to still get a bowl game feel, to have the experience of playing in a bowl game that has some semblance of meaning and relevance, while still understanding that the end goal of that tournament could catapult a team into what everyone is ultimately playing to be a part of at the end of the year. So
And I'll put
fun
a
concept.
I'll put a cherry on top of this, and then we'll get to the other matters at hand here. The last cherry on top for this could be we completely or nearly eliminate all of the early season games that are essentially pointless, along with the SEC's late in the year strategy of playing these subset teams. We get right into conference play, and obviously Utah has joined the Big Ten, and so we already have enough teams to yield this. And it also gives this a chance to say, hey, we're getting right into conference games. We'll play maybe one or two more conference games. After all of these conference games, we still have the capacity to fill more games, more meaningful games in our calendar. And for those that play for the love of the game and for the fans, this is a win-win-win situation.
So then let's get to what you asked about originally, which is Notre Dame.
Yes.
I am of the belief that there's an issue in college football of scheduling. Conferences are no longer conferences in the respect that they're based on location, the region in which you play in, and establishing the best team to come out of that region. The ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, like they span essentially across the country at this point. Notre Dame being one of, I believe, maybe a couple teams. It looks like the only other independent is UConn, shockingly. They get to make their entire schedule. They get to make their own schedule however they want. They get to schedule teams whenever they're free, whenever they would like to play Notre Dame, which in the current climate results in a front-loaded schedule for Notre Dame, because then teams get into conference play and their schedules are filled with conference games going against ranked teams within their conference, which ultimately builds the resume for teams in a conference. I am totally fine if Notre Dame wants to stay independent and everybody else wants to become an independent, and we all make our own schedules and we all play out those schedules as we see fit. Naturally, I think that gravitates good teams to play good teams. I think bad teams tend to play bad teams, which in one season may not cultivate a difference in the way that the committee looks at each team. Now, obviously, as we've seen with games like you mentioned, Nick, in the Big 10, in the Big 12, in the SEC, where a small school goes and plays in Alabama, let's just say they get paid $1 million to go play that school, and that's what's funding, the athletic department, the football program. Like those cupcake games where teams are getting paid to come just get their ass whipped can still exist. But it allows everyone the opportunity to play whoever they'd like in order to put forth their best foot for the College Football Playoff Committee. That's an extreme. That's one outcome that I would be totally fine with if we want to go that way. That would allow for rivalries to still exist. Iowa State, Notre Dame USC, Michigan Ohio State, Cal Stanford. It would allow for all of those things to still exist and be scheduled whenever both teams would like it to be scheduled. The simpler solution, the more logical solution, to me, the real solution, Notre Dame and UConn, but mainly Notre Dame, you need to join a conference. It's time. For other sports, Notre Dame has already joined a conference, and at this point, they remain independent in college football purely because of tradition, which is something to which I say bullshit. We're doing
Mm.
something simply because it's the way that it's been done. That's bullshit. College football has changed. Notre Dame, it's time for you to change with it. Uh, Listen, during COVID, they joined the ACC so that they could play football. I think that's a very natural fit. I think if they wanted to join the Big Ten, they could very easily slide into the upper echelon of Big Ten teams. Um, Heck, if they wanted to join the Big 12, I think they would come in and be an instant favorite and fill a void that was left by Texas and Oklahoma. Uh, so to me, Notre Dame, you need to join a conference. Uh, what they did with declining a bowl game altogether, without losing their head coach, they have plenty of players that are going to come back and play for a national title in 2026. And quite frankly, they're going to have a good chance at it again. What Notre Dame did is complete bullshit in taking their ball and say, we're going to take our ball, we're going to go home for the year. The only part that's sort of funny is they did it simply to spite ESPN. It gets into a deeper discussion of, do we really need to be unveiling college football playoff rankings every single week past week 10? No, we don't need to be doing that. But the competitor that we once thought Marcus Freeman was, the competitor that we thought Notre Dame was, if you are a competitor, if you believe you should have been in the college football playoff, the right thing to do is to accept your bowl bid and go kick the ever living shit out of whoever you got matched up against. That's where my rant ends.
That's a beautiful, beautiful rant. And I think furthermore, you're taking a very holistic and logical approach to this. My comments are as the following here. First off, to Notre Dame, what did you do that earned you the right to be in this playoff? It's just a question and food for thought. What is it that you accomplished that would have allowed you to get in? Number two, to the point of you getting or them getting into a conference, I could not agree more. The fact that we just get to decide what our schedule is every year, that is, yeah, it's complete bullshit. And it's hilarious that they're acting in such a manner when they get to create their own schedule. So you're going to tell me that you have a freedom that no other team has, and then you're going to turn around and whine when you lose the games that you scheduled. And I don't care about on the road or at home. I don't care about who you're playing. The simple fact is you lost the football games that mattered most on your schedule. Therefore, similarly to Alabama last year, you're not in the college football playoff. And I think this decision was made well before. And so it was an emotional one. It was a preset decision. And you are now robbing all of your young players and older folks of growth and playing in a not incredible bowl, but still a fairly decent one. As I'm looking again at Iowa and Vanderbilt. That game is going to be a fun one for the sheer fact that they're very different teams and they both had pretty good years. And so Notre Dame, you're being so immature, so selfish, and this is finally when you were held accountable for your own decision making, and you're handling it so poorly. In addition, if I'm a recruit and I see that behavior, that would anger me a lot. Because as you said, Cole, as a competitor, you want to see your head coach stand up similarly to Vanderbilt's head coach and say, hey, we didn't do what it takes. We should have done what it took. And I'm going to be a leader and go out and say that and guide my team in the right way. So it's hard to say. I don't see this as Marcus Freeman's decision himself. I think it was all talked about with the whole staff. And again, they're prematurely like, if we're not getting in, we're not playing. But it looks just so badly. Now, there is one discussion to be made in terms of the SEC where they are scheduling some of these pretty easy cakewalk games late in the season to kind of boost their schedules, which is fine. But also, similarly to your tradition argument, that isn't new either. They've been doing that for years and years and years. And so the irony of the sport is you showed the world how immature you are, and you're going to go cry, and it's going to have consequences to that. So, do I think them opting out of a bowl game is arguably one of the most dramatic things of this season outside of, let's not forget, week 1 we had Texas Ohio State. We had Texas's coach coming and saying a lot of bold things. And to be quite frank, I almost think at this point in the year Texas has more of a claim to get into the college football playoff than Notre Dame. You show me the schedule that they had to end the year outside of, oh my god, you beat fucking USC, who is so average that there's no power and authority that you have. So, not going to make this full podcast about a rant about our displeasure with them, but I think for both myself and you, Cole, both great points being made on a very disappointing end to a program that literally played in the national championship last year. So you go from that team and that standard to doing this. It's just despicable. But I digress. So, any other thoughts or comments there before we turn to some off the field drama?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right? The games have to matter. Like this can't be I'll speak candidly. This can't be a big dick contest or a pissing contest. Like this can't be, you know, politicking for, we played this team and we scheduled this team, so we should be favored or get in because of that. Like, hey, Texas, you scheduled Ohio State week 1, and that's kudos to you. But you have to understand that even if you lose, it should be looked at the same as if you won. Like if you
So
if
true.
you win, if Texas won the Ohio State game at the beginning of the year, they'd be in the playoff. That's just the fact of the matter, right?
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful point.
they lost. The fact of the matter is with Notre Dame, they started out the year 0-2. And yes, they got a lot better over the course of the year, but the quality of opponent that they played throughout the rest of the year was lesser than Miami and Texas A&M. So the games that are being played have to matter. This can't be a, well, then we won't, then we just won't schedule good teams. We'll schedule cupcakes for all our non-conference games, or in Notre Dame's case, we'll schedule group of 5 teams and just kick the crap out of them all year long. Like, is that really what you want? Is that
Right.
truly is that truly the resume that you want to put forth at the end of the season for the college football playoff committee to look at? Because yes, Notre Dame, like, they get favor simply because of their logo and colors. Like they get favor. We have to watch them every Saturday on NBC because they're Notre Dame. I mean, they played a lot of teams that are in the ACC. I mean, outside of Miami and Texas A&M, they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are in the ACC anyway. So what are we doing? Like not joining up with the ACC? You're already playing their teams. You're
Literally.
already the class of that conference. They beat every single one of those teams. It's well, I guess outside of Miami, but Miami. I mean, listen, Miami's in the playoff. They won head to head. The head to head game again. Back to the point of Texas Ohio State. The game has to matter. The winner and the loser has to matter. Miami Notre Dame. The winner has to matter. The loser has to matter, and it has to be factored in. You should still schedule those games because if you lose, there is wiggle room to lose. There's not wiggle room to lose 3 games on your schedule. There's wiggle room to lose a game, to lose 2 games even. And in the case of Notre Dame, the problem they ran into was you lost 2 games, and then the quality of opponent that you ended up playing the rest of the year was lesser than most teams in an established conference. And B, you lost the head-to-head matchup, which is ultimately what it came down to in the very end.
Amen.
So the games have to matter. Notre Dame, just join a conference. Like, quit doing this to us. Your brand is so great, so strong. We know
Right.
this. We can say this. Like, you would add such a level of credibility to whatever conference you joined. So That's what I got. That's where I'll end.
Beautiful. I think just to boast us in speaking about this on this podcast, I know that there's only a very few that will listen to this, but I think these are some of the best takes that anyone could have. And so I think that this should be a global podcast that for anyone in college football to be really listening in for the seriousness of it, it's fucking absolutely spot on. Now, as much as we have been discussing opt-ins, opt-outs, decisions, all of that fun stuff, we have just you said it, Cole, the best reality TV show on air, and that is college football. And what not better for a reality TV show than a head coach who made some interesting decisions and then furthermore just spiraled out of control on a global scale. And before we get into this, what I want to ask you first, Cole, is what is your full understanding of the events that had taken place with Michigan's head coach? I would like to learn what your perspective is first, then I will share my comments on the situation.
So my understanding of events is there was an affair happening between coach and staffer for a long duration of time, whatever that duration of time is, whether it was years, months, that we don't really know. I don't really know. But there was an inappropriate relationship / affair between a college football coach, married husband, father, and a staff member of his that directly worked under him, which went on for a long period of time, up until the point of, I believe it was last Wednesday, literally a week ago today, I believe December 10th. I was quite literally coming back from lunch at work when this news broke, and it consumed the rest of my afternoon. Sherrone Moore was fired from Michigan. From that point, apparently, allegedly, we'll say, broke into the house of said staffer, threatened said staffer / affairee with a kitchen knife or multiple kitchen knives, and was subsequently detained in a county jail for multiple days at a time, and has since been released from jail, still unemployed by the University of Michigan.
Beautiful. Thank you for laying that out. It is, first off, just so hilarious and ironic that this happened at Michigan, who no more than, I think, 2 years ago was also in complete deep shit for something completely unrelated.
Yep.
And there's just no better program that this can happen to. And I'm so grateful. Well, I should say so grateful. That might come off in a wrong context, but it's just purely unbelievable. Now, what I truly do like feel on, first off, it's his tale as old as time. The president of the company and the assistant that he's working with, the head coach of the football team and the staffer that he's working with. Like we got to be better there. First off, secondly,
We
how
gotta
was,
be better there.
you gotta be better. Second, and I don't know again if this is legitimate or not, but part of the reason why this was discovered is either he or the university provided this staffer with a 50% increase in pay over either this last year or going into this year, which anyone would say, well, that's probably something we should look into. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then to go to the extreme, like, you're in this affair, and to have the coward nature after it to put not only your family but her family in a spot that is just so completely unasked for and inappropriate. That to me is the thing that just drove me the most crazy, is that you were not man enough to accept the consequences of your actions to then threaten someone's life because your whole life essentially was going to be ruined. If he would have amicably handled the situation like a grown man, yes, it would have been extremely detrimental to his marriage, to his career, and all of this. But you could have overcome that in due time. The fact that you went out and did that, you are not coming back in any way, shape, or form from this. So that to me was the biggest just oh my god moment, is that you're gonna go then and then threaten someone's life based on your inability to handle a situation that you put not only you in, you put your family in, and you put the whole program on. So I have no further comments on that because there's a lot more fun things to talk about, but just an unbelievable story coming at just a crazy time in this college football year. My God.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it is to your very first point. It's interesting and it's crazy how the guy that's caught up in all of this, right in the middle, that has completely tarnished his reputation in the sport of college football, that will probably never, I don't know if I want to say never, but won't be a head coach in Power 4 or 5 college football for a very long time, if ever. The guy who's caught up in all of that is the guy that was left holding the bag for Jim Harbaugh as he quietly and quickly exited an active cheating scandal
Yeah.
going on at the same university. Like, I mean, at the time, Sharon Moore was looked at as the good guy, as the savior, as the one who, you know what? He's going to take it on the chin. He's going to be the one to get us back to championship glory, the way that Jim Harbaugh did. And it's crazy to think that in a matter of 2 hours, he ruined his public image. He ruined his relationship, both on a husband level, on a father level, with 3 kids, namely specifically 3 daughters. And now, I mean, quite literally has a criminal record to dictate everything that went on
Oof.
uh, throughout the entire process. It really sucks to see. I'm not gonna go to the extent to say Sharon Moore's a bad guy, because he's not. Like, I genuinely believe he's not. Yeah, he's the coach of the Michigan head coach of, or he was the head coach of the Michigan football team, which, like, fuck Michigan. Like, they're just kind of shitty and assholes to begin with. But this is a guy that made the worst decision over and over and over again possible. And simply put, he is reaping what he sowed. He is
Yes.
lying in the bed that he made. And it's not a comfortable one. It can't be. Like, I know for a fact that this cannot be a comfortable bed for him to lay in and day out.
Poetic justice at its finest. And I will say, while I don't agree with the affair portion and obviously the other portion of it, I do want to give a little bit of grace to the affair E, because she unfortunately will be getting far more publicity than she deserves. Now, I don't know her prior relationship status, if she's single or if she's married or whatnot. It's really not a relevant point, but my. And the last thing I will say here is you had the 5-star recruit freshman quarterback that will somewhere rise to the top. Bryce Underwood had a pretty strong freshman campaign and would just be blown away if he remained at the University of Michigan.
Yep.
There's a chance that he stays if he's involved with the next coach that they bring in. But if I was him, I would be absolutely entering strongly to the option of getting in the portal and going somewhere like a Penn State or somewhere else where he can actually disregard all this bullshit that he got brought into. So we had to bring it up, not only because it was shocking, but also it was just such a wacky fucking deal for college football. But man, it just adds to a perfect sentiment that is the chaos that is the sport this year. So we digress, but we had to bring it up. Now, if you don't have any further points, Cole, we're going to get to the most fun portion of the show, and that is talking about the second year we are hosting a 12-team playoff.
I'm ready to talk playoff. I'm ready to get back to
Wonderful.
talking ball. I'm ready to talk playoff because this shit's gonna be so exciting.
This is where it all comes together. We've been waiting so long, not necessarily us in the sense of chomping at the bit to get here, because we do, I think, such a great job of staying present with the sport itself week over week. And so this is really extra for us, right? Our respective teams, we discussed their paths. We had ups, we had downs, but the fun to be had, the dessert after Thanksgiving dinner, is truly where you can just really end with a satisfied taste in your mouth. And I don't even know where to begin, Cole. If you'd like to just go game by game, you're more than welcome to. But I would love to just have some trajectory talk, have our favorites of who we think are underdogs, all this stuff. So please, if you have any ideas, I'll turn it back over to you, and we can rock and roll.
Well, let's start with the structure as a whole, right? So we've obviously addressed that Notre Dame was left out, so that conversation has been had. Miami got in. Um, do we have any qualms with who got in? Do we have any qualms with where teams were seated? And that's the first question that I'll ask you.
Beautiful. The two things that I have, one is a frustration point of a team that got in, and the other is just a question or a thought process. I'll start with that. Cole, you are one of the best, if not the best, college football fans that I know, in the sense of your passion for the sport, but also you give respect to the I forget what the correct terminology is here. The Power Five, or the what is Tulane and James Madison
Oh,
considered?
yeah, group of five.
Yes, group of five. Do you think that they are deserving to get into this, or should we say, hey, we know realistically these teams aren't going to win the whole thing? Why are we even including them?
So
And I
it
love
makes
this
me think
question for you. I couldn't wait to ask you this.
it it makes me think back to well, and I think any like college football nut goes back to uh University of Central Florida, like at this point a decade ago, when Scott Frost was first coming up in the coaching ranks. He was coaching them. They went on an undefeated season. They had an undefeated record, albeit they were still a group of five team, not playing in the Big 12 at that point. They felt as though they should have been playing for a national championship. They won their bowl game in deciding fashion, and themselves self-proclaimed national champions. So good for them. Like they went undefeated. They did everything they did everything that was asked. They did everything that they could have done, and they felt they had earned the right to call themselves national champions. That is the reason that team is the reason this question is being posed today, because ultimately the group of five spot was intended for a small program or a program on the rise who came out of nowhere and ultimately has the claim to say, we did everything we could, we beat everyone on our schedule, we deserve an opportunity to take a shot at the big dogs. This year, no, I don't believe Tulane has a chance to win it. I don't believe James Madison has a chance to win it. I understand what the College Football Playoff Committee is attempting to do, and that is obviously one, give the spot to the highest ranked conference winner, which ultimately the ACC this year did not produce outside of obviously an at-large bid going to Miami. And again, I go back to the example of we're trying to sort of recreate the men's and women's college basketball bracket style tournament.
Right.
And what makes that so magical and so special is the underdogs, the Cinderellas beating bigger opponents, beating bigger programs because simply they were the better team on that given day. Football and basketball are so different. They're
Right.
so different. Like basketball, it really takes is one guy to get really hot or to be better than everyone else on the court on a given day to win a game.
Right.
Um, a year like this year, I really just wish we had a play-in game for teams like James Madison or Tulane, or even a play-in game for a Miami Notre Dame matchup.
Right.
Um, because I don't believe Tulane can win it all. I don't believe James Madison can win it all. And quite frankly, I don't think a team like Alabama, I don't think a team like Oklahoma can win it all either. Like I think there's several teams this year that can't win it all, and that don't deserve to be in the running for a national championship because I think there's flaws there.
Yes. So you're bringing it up exactly what I wanted you to bring up per the thought process there. I think that as much as I appreciate the intention, I think we should try to find a way to meet in the middle. And what I mean by that specifically is find a way for one of those teams to get in. And I mean that because I don't think James Madison, or let me rephrase this. If, for example, James Madison or Tulane was the number one seed in the NIT tournament, that
Mm-hmm.
is something I think that they would be highly proud of
Yeah.
in a different structure. I don't think James Madison is excited to potentially play Oregon, then play Texas Tech, and then potentially play Indiana. I don't think that that's what they want to do.
No.
Now, fair enough. They're probably sitting there like, "Fuck you, man. Football's football." And I'm like, "Okay, fine. Just wait till you get on the field." Um, so yes, I think a team like Tulane could probably put up a good fight with a team like Ole Miss, considering all the things that had happened. So I do want some popcorn and some surprise opportunity similar to the tournament, but I don't know if two of those teams should be in there to be able to give that short term experience. Now, in this particular year, I love that they did it just so Notre Dame would be out. Love that. Love that so much. But again, that was just my first thought process and point to your question. Number two,
Well,
I
hold
think
on. Let me respond to that really quick.
sure.
So that being said, I mean, listen, I agree. Uh, don't you think the better solution is we should have had a essentially a playoff game, a play-in game last week, the same weekend as Army Navy, between James Madison and Notre Dame, and whoever won gets in.
Yeah, that helps me. It makes me feel good, and it also
I
obviously
was gonna say,
provides that to Notre Dame as well.
would that make you feel better overall about the outlook of the playoff this year? To me, that would. Like if James Madison proved it against the Notre Dame,
Right.
then like by all means you deserve to be in. If a Tulane proved it against a Notre Dame, by all means you deserve to be in. But ultimately, what do the fans truly want? We want the best teams in. We want the best games. We want the best matchups. And the one problem with the men's and women's basketball tournament is when the Cinderellas go a touch too long and then get blown out by UConn or Purdue, or they get blown out by whoever the big program is that year in the Sweet 16 and the game's a complete dud.
Right.
We want the best games. We want the best teams. We want the best players on the highest pedestal with the most people viewing them at the end of the day. Like that is what we want.
Yeah, and to get skin in the game per your again another brilliant suggestion. This allows us to watch a fun football game. I would love to watch a Tulane play BYU or a Tulane or James
Yeah.
Madison to play a Notre Dame. That would be phenomenal. I would easily get riled up for that. So again, we have growth to happen here. Selfishly, I do love that they kicked a couple teams out, which is fantastic. But yes, exactly to your point. Eventually, that is no longer funny or fun or whatever you want to say, because they will get smacked up just due to many obvious reasons. So that was the first point. The second thing that I'm displeased with is I think the Alabama Crimson Tide should not have made the college football playoff. I think that they stubbed their toe in a handful of ways that, again, they should have been punished for. And I think personally, just to give a shout out to your conference, I think the BYU Cougars should have been in that spot to play Oklahoma. Reason being, if I recall correctly, BYU only had 2 losses, and they were to arguably one of the best teams in the country right now, and they played in their respective conference game. Now, one could turn around and say, "Well, Alabama did too." Well, they were there physically. I don't think they were on the field though, getting just dismantled by Georgia. And to know how quote unquote well they're playing in the Saban era, it was a little bit of a different story, because in the Saban era, they may have stubbed their toe early on or to like a week 7 game. In DeBoer's era, unfortunately, they've lost some very key games late in the season. And I don't like that they get another attempt at Oklahoma because they are simply Alabama. I don't think that's the right move. So I think another team should have been awarded that game against Oklahoma. And to Oklahoma's credit, I mean, they did what they needed to do. They had one of the hardest schedules in college football this year. And
Mhm.
so I don't think we should just put a brand name in there for the sake of it. And yeah, so I'll stop there. So that was my relatively long answer to your first question, Cole. I think that after this year, I hope we have a play-in game, and then furthermore, I would like to see respect given to other conferences and not just awarded to an SEC team because they play the harder schedule, quote unquote, or they just get in because of whatever the hell.
So I'm glad you brought up that point because that's where I was going to go next. Um, Here's the problem: is one conference is being judged one way, and that is the SEC is being judged as, well, we don't want to penalize teams for playing in their conference championship game. So even though they played in the championship game, even though realistically that game was a blowout, a 3-score lead until garbage time when Alabama scored a touchdown, um, they're being judged on the fact that, okay, we're not going to penalize a team for playing in a conference championship game and entertaining us, at least as far as the SEC is concerned. We are going to penalize a team like BYU, who, you're exactly right. They had 2 losses. They also played in their conference championship, which was one of their 2 losses. Both losses came to the same team, who is without a doubt one of the best teams in college football and a team currently in the college football playoff with a bye,
Right.
waiting to see who their next opponent will be. Uh and listen, I understand that the perception that the SEC is god tier compared to the Big 12, but my God, can we get a little bit of parity? I mean, you look at the Big 12 or you look at the Big 10 even, right? The only penalty to Ohio State losing was they simply dropped a spot. They swapped spots with Indiana, right?
Right.
So virtually no penalty. They keep a bye. Um, they they're going to get to play one of the lower seeds that comes out of the first round. Um, and ultimately there was little to no penalty for the Big Ten team. So why is it that the Big 12 is penalized for why is it that BYU specifically is penalized for playing in their conference championship game, losing to a team they had already lost to once? And if I may, I mean, it was almost as bad of a score as the SEC championship was. It was 34-7. Texas Tech over BYU. It was 28-7. The you know Alabama Georgia, when in reality it was, like 28-0, 21-0 at many points in that game. So uh it's a clear um contradiction to how we're judging teams being put in the college football playoff. To me, Nick, you're exactly right. It is simply putting in a brand name to put in a brand name versus looking at the resumes as a whole, and understanding that outside of Texas Tech, BYU ran the gamut. They did everything that was asked,
Everything.
and ultimately ran into the one buzzsaw that, quite frankly, I think several other teams are going to run into during the playoff in Texas Tech. Uh, yeah, it it's a problem. Um, the long shot was Duke getting in, being the ACC champion. Um, to me, that was never going to happen, being that we just can't, like, we can't have a 5-loss team.
So
And
this is where I slightly differ with you, Cole, and I love that you're bringing this up because I think like we love chaos, like as sports fans, right? Like I think that that would have been one of the funniest teams or things that could have happened to this season outside of the Michigan head coach scandal is like somehow this team and it just I have a little bit of salt in my mouth here because in the past if we're going back to like 2015 16 17 when Clemson was, to be fair, all that, the ACC had so much horsepower in terms of their authority to get in, and you've been a great advocate of the Big 12 in this particular light. So why now all of a sudden does Alabama, of all schools, just get to have their way when we have had these other teams in other conferences that have played in their respective championship game and won it? So but this is also a personal thing with me where I think there should get back to having a lot more weight on the conference championship, and that is that even though Duke is a 5-loss team and quote unquote not the best top 15 or whatever, that would be hilarious to have them be playing Oklahoma because they won. What if they get hot and they beat Oklahoma all of a sudden? I don't think it's probable, but what
uh,
happens?
yeah, I mean, here's my thing is, okay, what were Alabama's three losses? It was Florida State early in the year, with which proved to be a really bad loss.
Right?
It was Oklahoma, and it was Georgia in the SEC championship.
Fair?
So, A, we've already seen this game one time before. We've seen Alabama Oklahoma play out once before already.
Right.
Uh the second point is, in this case, the conference championship for Alabama should have acted as the eraser for that Florida State loss early in the year. Had Alabama won the conference championship, all that should have done is erase the
Mm,
Florida State loss early in the year, which would then lead to Alabama being in the playoff, right?
I love
The
that, Cole.
fact
That's such a great take.
the fact that Alabama played in the conference championship, lost to Georgia, tells me, and might I add, lost to Georgia in which the way they did, tells me that not only did Alabama not start fast, they didn't finish strong either.
Right. And so now we're rewarding a team that if it was any other football team
Yep.
across the country,
Yep.
that would have been the double standard is absolutely insane. So we won't spend much more time here. Obviously, feel free, Cole, if you have any other comments. But that is we seem to be in a very similar wavelength with a team that, boy oh boy, by the skin of their teeth. And just to make this point, because I know we might get to predictions, I hope selfishly Oklahoma, who actually canceled all of their classes tomorrow for this football game, I believe. Um,
Friday.
I or Friday, yep. I hope that they just dismantle Alabama. Dismantle Alabama.
Uh yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Oklahoma. Uh, the problem with that is I don't think Oklahoma can win at all because I think their defense is what's going to take them as far as they're going to get, and I don't think that they have a championship winning defense. I think they have a very good defense, and a defense that has gotten them to this point in the year. I think their offense is lacking. I think it's sputtering. I don't think it's been the same since John Mateer came back. But who knows? Maybe the time off, all the time off that we've had, has allowed everyone to get healthy, has allowed everyone to get back in sync and back in rhythm. And we've oiled up the hinges and we've fixed what needs to be fixed. And they come out and look like a showstopper. All I can base off of is what I've seen and what I
Right.
saw to end out the year. And what I saw towards the end of the year tells me they can't win it all. So that's my point there. The last thing I'll say is I think that I think that Texas A&M sort of got dissed. I think um, them losing late in the year, like them getting a 7 seed, I think that's a little bull crap. I think they should have been ranked maybe above. I think candidly, I think Texas A&M should have probably been the 5 seed.
Sure.
Um, but that's that's really us twiddling our thumbs and deep diving when there really isn't a necessity to do so.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with that. All of these are phenomenal takes. Now, the only thing that's going to be an Achilles heel for all sports fan and those that run podcasts in a similar light is the first time that they did this playoff, a team in Ohio State who looked as bad as one could went on one of the greatest sports runs of all time, which was incredible to watch. I
Yep.
certainly don't think Alabama has the capacity to do that, but that will always be the well, Ohio State did this at one point, so it's possible. I
Yeah.
just simply don't see it. So let me turn it back over to you, Cole. If you want to go game by game, I am more than happy to do that for the first round. Or if there's any other kind of prompts that you want me to talk about. But like I said, man, we can go any route that you want. I love this part of the podcast.
Well, yeah, I think we're pretty much to the point of predictions. I'm gonna obviously end off with having you pick some bowl games, but it wouldn't be
Love
right.
it.
It wouldn't be right for us to talk about the playoffs and then not have you predict it all out. So we're gonna have you build your bracket,
Ooh.
um, and see what we get here. So Alabama, Oklahoma, Friday, December 19th. This game is going to be played in Norman, Oklahoma,
My
which
God.
might I add, the game before that was played between Alabama and Oklahoma was played at Bryant Denny Stadium, so in Tuscaloosa, and Oklahoma still won. So
Mm.
not only has Oklahoma beat Alabama once already on the road, they get to play them again at home to kick off the 2025 college football playoff on Friday night in a spotlight or a primetime spot.
So I will give Alabama a little bit of credit here in the sense that I think they have the ability to make this as a close football game. I think the guy who I'm looking at the most who is disappointed in his performance was Ty Simpson. I think
Mhm.
he is going to really come together with DeBoer. And I think when you get to a structure of a season where you have so much time to prepare for one team, I think it generally bodes well for your preparation. However, there is no way Oklahoma loses this football game. Their schedule this year, they've played many close games. You're at home, you've already beaten this team, and there's just not enough of a Herculean effort for Alabama. I think Oklahoma wins this football game. I don't think it is very high scoring. I think that because Alabama's defense is fair to decent. So I'm going to go with the final score of 20. Let's see here. I'm going to go 24 to 17. 24-17. Oklahoma takes the first win at home.
24-17 isn't high scoring to you.
Mm, I think high scoring in college football is 30 plus, but that's just
That's
me.
41 points total being scored. That's a lot of points to me as a
All right.
gambler. As a
All right.
gambler. Uh okay. So then we wake up on December 20th, Saturday, December 20th, and right off the bat we get Miami, Texas A&M.
This game I'm so excited for. of all the games, I am
Okay.
pumped for this
Okay.
because it's going to show me one of two things. First off, it's going to show me that Texas A&M truly stubbed their toe and they come out and they just basically take care of business here. It's ironic that Notre Dame's 2 losses early in the season were to both of these teams, so I love that. Um,
Mhm.
or it's going to show me that Carson Beck has the ability to rally the dogs down there and put a pretty big upset on a team right away. Um, where is this game being played at Texas A&M? I'm assuming.
This game is being played, yeah, at Aggie Land.
Okay. So I think personally, I think A&M is going to come out strong. They've played in a lot of close games this year, for better or for worse. So they know how to win late. And I think that they're going to be really hungry to come out. And I just don't think Miami has the athletes to be able to really match them tit for tat. So this is the final game we watch Carson Beck play. Thankfully for you, Cole, you dislike him strongly. He will go to the Cleveland Browns, and we will never hear from him ever again.
The fun thing about this game for me, aside from the fact that you think Carson Beck's going to lose, which I do love, is this is the spite game for that like Notre Dame opted out of their bowl game. Well, this is like ESPN and the College Football Playoff Committee spiting Notre Dame
I
because
love
these
it.
are the two teams that Notre Dame lost to in the regular
Beautiful.
season. Like, let's
Great
match
job.
those two teams up and have them play a playoff game, right? Kudos to the schedule makers.
Which actually, Cole, one last point on this, sorry, and then I'll get it back to you. Maybe this is why they put A&M at a 7 seed, just to say, hey,
Could
we
be.
fuck you.
Okay, so we get to see that game, which is super exciting. And here's my thing about that game is I think it's actually a disservice that it's the first game of the day.
Oh
I think
yeah.
this should be in the primetime spot because then we potentially end with two stinkers. I mean, this is where the group of five comes into play. So the afternoon game is Tulane Ole Miss being played in Oxford, Mississippi. Obviously minus Lane Kiffin. The coordinators and everybody else are still going to be able to coach this game for Ole Miss, but is there a difference maker being that Lane Kiffin won't be in attendance?
So to me, of all the games really here, this is where I am going to predict a little bit of madness. I think
Oh,
Georgia is licking their chops right now in terms of their like layout of the playoff. Um,
yep.
and I do have Tulane. Uh, I think they do it because I think Old Miss is. You're going to see one of two things happen. First off, they're going to come together and they're just going to absolutely fucking destroy Tulane, which would be hilarious. Or they're just in such a disgruntled place and they can't pull it out. I mean, it would be a really, really bad way for them to end the season. So maybe there's some camaraderie from the senior players saying, hey, we can't fucking go out like this, which would be dope, if they get another chance against Georgia. But I am going to predict that Tulane does somehow find a way to win this football game, whether by blowout or by last second score.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you they're going to win the game, but the spread on that game is 17 and a half. I will be taking Tulane to cover 17 and a half.
I love
And
it.
that's the other problem is like, as from a gambler's perspective, seeing 17 and a half point spread in a playoff game or the next game, Oregon James Madison is a 21-point spread. I don't love that. Like seeing 3-score games as spreads, I don't love. So
Yeah.
let's move on. Then prime time, December 20th. Oregon plays James Madison. What's your analysis? What's your thoughts?
This will be very brief. Oregon, unfortunately, dismantles them. I think James Madison is a good program, but I think that Dan Lanning is a guy that it does not take much to get him motivated, and to be in this situation for him to look at the schedule, he is going to be very upset, and he is going if he can win this game by 70, he will.
I think you actually nailed this take before when you said James Madison is a perfect team for an NIT tournament in college football this year. I think that's 100% right. I think they would be highly seeded, rightfully so, and I think they could benefit maybe more than any program, with a little bit of NIL money in their pocket should they win that secondary tournament. But I just don't think they can hang with the big dogs. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that completes the first round. Obviously, then we've got 4 teams waiting in the wings, the big dogs. The big dogs, okay?
So
Um,
excited.
we get to New Year's Eve, December 31st, 5:30 p.m., right? This is the game that if you're listening to this and like you're playing, you got New Year's Eve plans, like this is the game that you're watching before you head out for your New Year's Eve plans or do dinner or whatever. Like it's like, babe, it's like you're getting ready to go out. Maybe your significant other, they're getting ready to go out. Babe, I'm watching the game.
Yeah.
Let me get ready as soon as this drive ends, whatever. I'll jump in the shower, type of thing. Uh, Ohio State, and in your estimation, Nick, I forget who's coming out of Miami, Texas A&M. You had Texas A&M,
A&M, yep.
A&M, Ohio State, Texas A&M. In your estimation, on New Year's Eve in prime time, what do you like about that matchup?
Oh, such a fun game here. Such a fun game here. Man, so many thoughts. But the thing that I will say is yes, A&M. I think that you were, to your point, Cole, undervalued a little bit. It could be strategically done this way despite Notre Dame. To me, right now, with the football team that has really not been embarrassed, because Indiana truly is incredible, but they really got slugged in an uppercut in that Big Ten championship. This was that true test for them, because looking back, their schedule was pretty soft. Now you could make the same argument for Texas A&M, honestly, but I think the ability for Ohio State to come out hungry and to respond to the performance of a loss in the Big Ten championship is going to be there. Plus, they already know the path. They're in a different spot, right? But they know the path to get to the national championship. And the defense that they have, I think, is just too much. They have really only faltered once, but yet the scoring in the Big Ten championship was that of 10-13. So really, they didn't falter at all. Holding them to 13 points is insane. So I have the Ohio State Buckeyes winning this football game and advancing.
Wow. Okay. Then so the clock strikes midnight. It's 2026. We're into the new year. Resolutions are all alive. Everybody's going to lose 50 pounds and work out every single day and eat right. And we're all going to do the things that we say we're going to do. And 10 a.m., Oregon plays Texas Tech. First to kick off the day.
Gosh, what a game here, too. This is the other game that I had. So this one's going to be super fun for me. I've been contemplating many things, but the thing I've said all year long, and more importantly towards the end of the year, is I just feel coming into this year that Dan Lanning was so upset with the ending of the season last year that there's not a more motivated guy on the planet outside of Kirk Cignetti who is really, truly amped up and hungry. I think that this is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the college football year in terms of offense and just chaos. And I think Texas Tech is going to put a hell of an effort out there. But I do think at the end of this game, the Oregon Ducks will be advancing to hopefully, sorry to preview this too quickly, avenge their loss at home against Indiana.
Wow. So, that game would be played at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It would not be played at home, but I love it. That was going to be my next question. So we get into the afternoon. You got Oregon moving on. Does it even really matter who comes out of Alabama, Oklahoma? Like, I think you're going to slurp the dick of Indiana and Kurt Cignetti like you have all year long, right?
It's not going to matter. Also, because the lens of Alabama, Oklahoma is like this SEC revenge game for them, and they're going to put all the power and resources into that. Unless Indiana absolutely flops, which it would be very uncharacteristic. I think that they gotta come out here. I do think, though, Cole, similarly to other games, there's going to be a heavy punch by one of these SEC teams, though. I think they're going to come out. It's just teams that have waited a little bit too long, especially after such a high, where it's like that first quarter, maybe the first half, they're going to be a little bit shaky and a little bit slow. They're going to make adjustments and win the football game, but that one's going to be interesting. I'll just say that.
Okay. And then to cap off New Year's Day, at least in terms of the playoff, your Cinderella struck midnight, and Tulane in the All-State Sugar Bowl goes up against Georgia. I don't even want to know what the gambling line for that would be, but
Oh
I,
my
I
God,
guess
yeah.
does Cinderella strike twice, or does she turn into a pumpkin?
No, she turns into not only a pumpkin, but a rotten one. I think Kirby's insulted and laughing right now. And he is viewing in a similar light a disappointing end to their season last year with a guy that has a full season of experience, very easily choose the Georgia Bulldogs there.
Okay, so then we set the stage for the semifinal matchups.
Oh my gosh.
Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs play the Ohio State Buckeyes in your mind, correct?
Yes.
And the Indiana Hoosiers play the Oregon Ducks, the so to speak favored 5 seed in the semifinal. Everything's correct there.
Oh, it is correct. Yes.
J-
Let me just soak in the idea of these or these two games. Like, oh, as a college football fan, the structure of that is just everything that we want and more. Um, so which game is to be played first? I apologize.
so the VRBO Fiesta Bowl, which is going to be in Glendale, Arizona, at State Farm Stadium, which I'm not going to lie to you, I might be doing everything in my power to go to.
I hope so.
Uh, uh, Georgia shows up in the desert to meet up with Ohio State. January 8th at 5:30. What do you got? 2 versus 3 seed.
So a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people forget that Ohio State, I think it was maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, actually 3 years ago, obviously, because they won last year. They should have beaten Georgia in one of the bowls. And I think that as much as Georgia is a phenomenal team, I think this is where Ryan Day, now that he has won a championship, understands the gravity of the coaching of this. And I also think that this is where um, give me 1 second. What's the gentleman's name? I can see his face. Matt Patricia. I think Matt Patricia really shines here. I think this is going to be such a good game back and forth, but I do think that Ohio State makes it back to the national championship game and beats Georgia. I don't even want to know what the score of that game will be, and I have no idea what the prediction is there, but that's who I have.
Okay, so that's Thursday night, and then we wake up the very next day. It's Friday. We're in the new year. We work throughout the day. Everybody's back to work. But the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Indiana, Oregon, Big Ten
Oh my
foes.
god. Okay, you're just gonna love this, Cole. Okay. So my prediction is as following. This is gonna be obviously a slugfest. And in my prediction, I think that at the end of the day, the people that seek revenge are the people that get it. And I think that the Oregon Ducks and the Cinderella story that is the Indiana Hoosiers and punch their ticket to the national championship game. I'm saying this for two reasons. First off, I think that Indiana has had an incredible run, but I think that Dan is going to be able to make the adjustments that he needs to make. And it's going to be a coaching duel. There's going to be so many highs and lows, but I just feel like he's going to get the revenge that he so desperately desires.
I
I can
mean,
I can just see how displeased you are.
wow. Well, it's a shocker to know how much you have uh you overflow with love for Kurt Signetti, and
Oh
to me,
yeah.
like that game is a coach's wet dream for you. Like those are your two guys. Like those are your two guys. Uh so
Truly
with
though.
that, I mean, I'll open up the floor to you then to set the stage for your national championship and what you think's going to happen January 19th.
Whew. Again, I've had so many thoughts about this. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I know. I have a logical brain and then I have my heart that is speaking right now. Oh shit. It's so funny. Because it could easily be Georgia, Indiana. in which case it'd be a very different prediction. So I'm just gonna go from the heart. I've done it all. I've done it all year, and some of it's been right, some of it's been very wrong. In my opinion, I think that I'm gonna go ahead with the most epic possible redemption story in college football. And I'm going to say somehow, some way, that the Oregon Ducks find their way over the Ohio State Buckeyes because of the game last year where, or no, 2 years ago, or no, last year, when they got just absolutely destroyed. As I'm saying this out loud, I'm already partially regretting me saying this because every logical part of me is like, why wouldn't Ohio State just win? But I also feel like they're not going to go back to back. I don't know why I have that gut feeling. So I know this is just bothering your analytical brain a lot by saying all of these suggestions. However, I'm gonna stick to the heart and just say the Oregon Ducks are the 2025 or 26 national champs after the most heroic revenge story of all time, Dan Lanning. I want
Well,
him to win so bad.
what's bothering me is your pants are down and your Big Ten bias is showing. Like we're all looking at it and seeing it and being like, oh yuck. Like it's disgusting.
No, you
Um
could say that because I know exactly why you're saying that, but I truly feel that this is the year the Big Ten just utterly dominates. I mean, Georgia, don't get me wrong, they are a juggernaut, but I just the way the brackets are lining up, that's why I think some of these things are possible. Now, I've shared a lot of the conversation this evening. Do I get the reciprocity of having you go through the same thing?
if you want me to, I can quickly go through it. Yeah.
I'd be happy. So, um, is it here? I'll guide you now if you don't mind.
Yeah, lead me through this.
Okay. So is it fair to assume, as we have just talked, that the Oregon Ducks make it into the quarterfinal?
Yes.
Okay,
And they cover the 21 point spread that I'm seeing.
perfect. Number two, I'm not going to say anything here. What are your thoughts
Which game?
in Alabama, Oklahoma?
I believe that Oklahoma gets right. I believe that their offense has enough time to get things going. Their defense is awesome. I believe Oklahoma wins.
Fuck yeah. Obviously, I'm going to say safe to assume that you're. Or wait, no. I'm sorry. I was looking a little bit in another way. This game, I'm curious. Actually, I'm curious about the next two for you.
Yep.
Tulane, Ole Miss. What are your thoughts here?
Ole Miss beats Tulane. They don't cover though. I think this is like a 10, maybe 13 point win.
Okay, and they punched their ticket for a revenge game. And then
Yep.
who do you have here? Miami A&M.
It's all about the U. It's all about the U. It's all
Really?
about the U. Give me Miami. I think they're more talented. I think they have so many guys on their roster that are pro ready. I hate
Ooh.
Carson Beck, but I do believe that when the stakes are at its highest, I think this might. I think Miami is such a high to low team. Like you got to ride the highs and lows with them. I think at their highest, they're the best team in the country. I think at their lowest, they shouldn't have made the college football playoff.
Wow. Very fair, though. I can appreciate that. Okay. Now we have the stage set for the quarterfinals. Unlike the days in which they are being played, I'm just going to go from top to bottom.
Yep.
So, quarterfinal game, Oregon, Texas Tech. What are your thoughts here?
I think Texas Tech is better at every level. Give me Texas Tech.
Woo, didn't even hesitate on that. Next, Oklahoma, Indiana.
Give me Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma turns
Really?
it on. I think, dude,
Really?
I think that this off time and the prep time for Oklahoma, obviously they're preparing for Alabama first, but they know who they play if they win. Uh and listen, I love Fernando Mendoza. He obviously won the Heisman. I love Kurt Signetti. But let's remember that Indiana has never been in a spot like this, and the pressure is all on them. Like the pressure, like
Mm.
they are the number one seed. They are expected to win. They've never been in this spot before. It is all new to them. Do I think they can get back to this point? Absolutely. And they can win a national championship one day. Kurt Signetti will win a national championship today or one day, but
Yeah.
today, this year is not that time. Uh,
You're
I
kidding
believe
me.
that Oklahoma's defense can shut down Indiana's offense, and I believe that John Mateer can get things right for Oklahoma's offense. I think they can beat Indiana.
That is interesting. But I love it. Okay, let's get to a good old slugfest in the SEC. Ole Miss and
Yep.
Georgia. Who do you got there?
Uh, Ole Miss, Georgia. I think this is where like not having Lane gets exposed. I think Kirby Smart's just like way too good of a coach, and I think Georgia is trending like the right direction, the best direction of any team coming out of conference play, regular season, conference championship. I think Georgia.
They look damn good. I would say, truthfully, after all my watching, between them and Indiana, they are just sailing high. Um, Now Miami and Ohio State. What do you got here, my friend?
This is the game that I think Ohio State's defense frustrates Carson Beck, and he has that idiotic like lost look in his eye, like he just doesn't know what's happened, and I think he gets exposed. Uh, yeah, I think this is totally Ohio. This is all Ohio State defense. Miami's defense is great too. They got an edge rusher in Ruben Bain Jr. that's really awesome. But I think Ohio State's defense is just like they're elite at every level. And they put the clamps on Miami.
Beautiful. All right, going back to we're in our semifinal now. So, Texas Tech and Oklahoma is what you're going to tell me that you have planned here. Love it. What are
A,
your thoughts?
a classic Big 12 matchup. Now my bias is showing. My pants are down. It's all hanging out. My bias is showing. Uh, Texas Tech, man. I think they're good
Okay.
at every level. I think they're
They're
just so
so
damn
good.
good at every level.
It's going to be, I will say this as a quick concluding thought on the upper part of the bracket. I think that the matchups of these teams is going to be so incredible between
Yep.
Oregon, Tech, Oklahoma, and Indiana. That four just figuring themselves out, epic.
Yeah.
All right, and this one's just a game of just absolute heavy hitters: Georgia and Ohio State. Man,
Yep. This is the game where I think I think it's two good defenses. I think Georgia's defense is trending upward. As I said before, I think Ohio State's defense is elite. This is the game though where Julian Sand, being as young as he is, gets exposed. The moment's too big for him.
really? Okay, okay.
Yep, give me Georgia.
I'm fine with that. I can see that. Um, the moment is too big for him. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he just played in a Big Ten championship and lost. Okay, so really, we're gonna go Georgia, Texas Tech. I think this is a pretty common prediction. I think a lot of people would probably be throwing out at a minimum having Georgia there with how well they performed. So go ahead, give it to me. Who's the
Well,
national
and
champion of the
and
2025-26 season?
and Georgia's just been in this spot so many times.
Right.
Um, I mean, all that being said, I quite honestly, I think this Texas Tech team is a flash in the pan. Like I think a year from now, we're not going to be talking about Texas Tech as the college football playoff team coming out of the Big 12. I think it'll be somebody different. Uh, but with that being said, I think Georgia's going to win the national championship.
Oof, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What a fun thing to do. My gosh, it's a goddamn treasure. Um, what is best about this to the Life with Nick fans out there, the few that are out there, is that we will have one more podcast in which we will go through our processing of all of these games to the best of our ability. And that podcast will have a lot of fun iterations to it in terms of what had happened, but also future predictions as well. And we're just going to find some really fun ways to conclude the first season of the Life on the 50. And so we appreciate you so much for listening in to the majority of our first season. Cole, any parting thoughts before we get the podcast rounded out?
Can I get you to pick just a couple bowl games for me, random ones?
Yes. I always forget this and I apologize. So thank you for holding me accountable.
Friday, December 19th, the same night that we get the first college football playoff game, there's a game, the Myrtle Beach Bowl. The Myrtle Beach Bowl presented by Engine. Kennesaw State plays Western Michigan. Who do you got?
Oh, give me Kennesaw State.
What about Tuesday, December 23rd? We will not be recording a podcast, as you mentioned, but the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans, it pits Toledo versus Louisville. Who do you got there?
Let's go, Louisville.
Wow. How about a game that's near and dear to my heart? New Mexico goes up against Minnesota at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona in the Rate Bowl.
Oh, New Mexico all day. Fuck the Gophers, dude.
Wow. The Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Two teams that you and I are definitely going to hate. Penn State versus Clemson.
Oh, give me Clemson. Give me Clemson.
This game most notably being played at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, another baseball stadium.
All right.
What about potentially the best bowl game of the entire season, legitimately? The Pop-Tarts Bowl, Georgia Tech versus BYU.
Oof, yes. Gosh, damn. I think that BYU ends up winning this game.
How about the what would have probably been the second most interesting game? Now there's a question mark up in the air. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl pits Michigan versus Texas.
Oh, Texas all day. Michigan is just in such a dumpster fire right now.
What about the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl with Nebraska versus Utah? Nebraska most notably without Dylan Raiola going into the portal.
Oh, he is, and that's confirmed?
Confirmed.
Oh, that is epic. I did not know that, and I'm glad I'm hearing that in real time. Give me the Utes all day. Fuck Nebraska.
And the last bowl game of bowl season, January 2nd, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Everybody loves Mayo. I love Mayo. Wake Forest versus Mississippi State.
Oh, what a horrible. Oh my god. Wake Forest. I don't think Mississippi State won a game this year, did they?
Mississippi State won games, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for holding me accountable.
Congratulations. That's your 2025 football season, college football season in whole.
I couldn't be happier with the journey that has been season one, and we have so many places of growth for next year, but one hell of a ride, and yet so many incredible moments to come. So many good football games. I will be tuning into as many as I possibly can without angering my wife of just staring at the TV all the time. Nonetheless, this has been so fun. Thank you to all that have tuned in to the Life on the 50, and from the co-host and I, we wish you all in good well and Merry Christmas.